Every distinct period in history has its leader, a world leader who sets the tone for the world. You find it in the realm of evil. There's always an individual or two who set the tone for the evil of a generation or of an era in history. And you find it also in the positive. We've always had the leader of the generation that set the tone for the generation. Now, what would make someone a world leader? Someone who is very pious, not necessarily a leader. Someone who's very studious, not necessarily a leader. Someone who's very knowledgeable, brilliant, a genius, doesn't make him a world leader. What would a world leader look like? What would it be like? In our generation, there's no doubt that the Rebbe was a world leader. What are the symptoms? What are the signs? Well, just looking at this picture. Who turned tefillin into a familiar sight in the Jewish world? Who made tefillin popular after a Holocaust, when some people were discarding their tefillin? Who made Purim into a truly joyous holiday when it had kind of drifted away from the public scene? Who turned birthdays into a celebration? Who introduced the idea that we are here to serve, that we are here to live out a purposeful life? One observer said, "Wherever I travel in the world and I see an enthusiastic Jewish community, I immediately think of the Rebbe." There were Jewish communities who were determined to preserve Judaism, popularly known as continuity. But that doesn't necessarily imply enthusiasm, excitement, innovation. Who turned Hanukkah into a holiday again when it was languishing in the shadow of a non-Jewish holiday approximately the same time of year? Every aspect of Judaism, the Rebbe infused with new life. And not just for his community in Crown Heights, but for the whole world. Who inspired young people to dedicate their lives to the service of their people and to the service of God's purpose? Thousands of couples, young couples, living comfortably near their family, in communities that had all sorts of religious services available, all the resources that make life easier for an observant Jew. And the Rebbe convinced all these people to leave all that comfort and go off to a place where they might be the only Shabbos observant Jews and devote themselves to the local community, to the town, to the city, to the state, to the country. And it wasn't just the Jewish world. Many of the Rebbe's principles, many of the Rebbe's initiatives carried over into the non-Jewish world. because the Rebbe was so concerned with all human beings, like begging and demanding that every public school class begin their day with a moment of silence. Think for a moment, why am I in school? What is the purpose? Where am I going? What am I doing? The morality that the Rebbe expected of human beings played on everyone's conscience. Washington proclaimed Education Day on the Rebbe's birthday for many of the Rebbe's years. Education meaning moral education. So I think it's safe to say the one individual who did more than anyone else to change the style, to change the face of godliness in the world. The Rebbe's dedicated, devoted efforts and wisdom and inspiration is still effective today. Young couples are still moving away from their comfort zones, from their familiar places, from their parents' homes, and pioneering all over the world. Why? They're inspired by the Rebbe. In fact, they can't think of a more meaningful way to live their lives. Devoted to a great cause, not for a few years, for their entire lives. Incredible. Perhaps unprecedented in history. The Rebbe's effect, the Rebbe's influence, needs to be studied. It's a serious subject. How does one man accomplish so much without fanfare, without becoming a celebrity, without drawing attention to himself? As the chief rabbi of England said of the Rebbe, he is one of those great leaders who don't create followers, but create leaders. How did he do it? What was the brilliance of his approach? What was the power of his influence when he had no army, no official status, just the truth of his words, the sincerity of his concern? It changed the world in a peaceful, gentle, kind way. Who else? So we owe it to the Rebbe to make this the most special generation in history, to use all the tools available to communicate the Rebbe's message, the Rebbe's legacy, the Rebbe's example of how to live a meaningful life. We owe it to him to take the message forward, to share it with everyone we know, and to actually make the world a heavenly place, bringing heaven down to earth. We have a Sunday night program for VIPs that you might be interested in. It's informal, it's questions and answers, it's conversation. It's really relaxed, it's really pleasant, enjoyable, informative, and kind of community-like. It's a Sunday night program, there's a Wednesday morning program for the VIPs, and there's a Wednesday night program. All of it just conversation, casual, laid back, unscripted. So join us, take a look, click the link below, and see which of the three suits you best, and join us for some enjoyable conversation.